Hi there. This week I want to chat about the power of brand marketing and the benefits it has to you as a person and the benefits it has to you as a business. You see, a brand is the emotional and intellectual associations people make with a person or a thing. All of us are brands, we just don't realize it. It's the experience that people have of us that determines our brands. It's what's called word of mouth. Whether someone has a good experience of you or a bad experience of you, it's their opinion and what they think that creates your brand image. Taking ownership and control of your brand will add tremendous value to your business and also to you as a person. People begin to trust you, people begin to feel comfortable around you, and people feel that they can refer you to other people. Developing a clear brand identity boosts your confidence. In both good times and bad times, you feel better about yourself when you know exactly who you are and what you stand for. It gives you direction. Sometimes you can fall off the path or you can associate with the wrong people, and then you have to come back to your brand values and your brand identity to decide what's best for you. It adds credibility to your name. People begin to speak about you, people begin to refer you to other people, and yes, it adds credibility to your name. People like to associate with like-minded people. So when you present yourself to the world with a clear message, then people can easily associate with you and also understand you. It will also help you make better decisions about the people you work with, the people you associate with, the clients you want to work with, and even helps you decide which clients you may not wish to work with. Being clear about the way you work, the way you behave, the tone in your voice, the way you look visually, who you work with, who you don't work with, your likes and dislikes, your weaknesses, your values, and your personality is going to be vital to developing your brand identity. In the world going forward, whether you are a business or an individual, it's going to be critical to your success to develop your brand identity. So it's best you begin now so that we can position you to attract the right clients, the right suppliers, and the right people for you and your business. A brand that is recognized opens up doors to new opportunities. It can also impact on what you earn. When you have a recognized brand, you can determine what you charge, and normally you can charge a much higher rate than, say, a startup business or a business that's a no-name brand. It can also determine whether or not someone takes you seriously, which in the end will determine the kind of people you will attract to your business. For example, if you don't have a clearly defined brand and you're a bit chaotic about who you are, you're just a startup and you're just getting out there, you will attract this very same like type of people. In other words, you'll also attract startups who are also unclear about who they are and what's going on, and then the two of you will come together and not necessarily serve each other's best interests. When your brand is established and recognized, you begin to attract the people that you are meant to work with, the people who resonate with you. A person or business who takes their brand seriously will take you seriously, and you will have a better working relationship and you'll end up with better results. How you present yourself online and offline will have an impact on your profit margin, and this is something to consider and take seriously. For example, did you know that Google's brand equity is valued at 159 billion? And this was taken from Forbes May in 2014. That is the value or the worth of their brand. This is excluding the assets and all other elements that make up the business worth or value. You see, strong brands have a lot of buying power. People don't necessarily buy products. They buy the brand to be associated with the brand. Tiffany's, for example, people will not necessarily be buying the bracelet, but they're buying the idea of being associated to Tiffany's. Oh, look at me. I've got a Tiffany's bracelet. Think about brands like Harley Davidson, Nike, Land Rover. All these brands have something in common. They have brand association. People want to be associated with their brand. People love talking about their brand. People want to buy all their products and paraphernalia and they are so proud to be Harley Davidson fans, Land Rover fans, Nike fans. Wouldn't you want that for your business? Imagine what a difference it can make to your business and your life as a whole. How much buying power do you have? In other words, did you position your brand so that you have a waiting list of people to do business with you? Or maybe when there's choices between products, you or the other person, how have you positioned yourself so that they have heard of your brand, recognize your brand, and choose you rather than the other person who is unestablished? Strong brands have an influence in their community, and let's change the word brand to you, because in essence, you are a brand whether you strategically building your brand or whether you just randomly walking around on the planet and doing your thing. The person who's working in a career is a brand because it's what other people say about you that represents your brand as a whole. So if you look at communities and you look at social gatherings, you will always see that there are leaders in the group or certain people that I would say of influence, because people naturally gravitate towards them. People naturally respect their viewpoint. People naturally support what they want to do because they are well respected and have influence in their communities. Strong brands draw crowds. I mean, we've all seen this. Get a famous person walking into your shop and I promise you it's like bees to a honeypot. There comes the crowd. So when you look at your business, see how you can develop a brand image so that you can have a waiting list of customers instead of going out on the hunt for new customers, so that you can be an influencer in your community, in your field, that go-to expert that everybody says, go to such so-and-so because they know what they're talking about. And then you want to draw the crowds. You want to attract customers. You don't want to be chasing and hunting after customers. You want them just to come to you naturally. You want an easy flow of business coming in. If you look at famous brands like Coke and Nike and Reebok and all those brands, I can tell you now, they don't have to go hunting for customers. They just get customers naturally buying their products because they have an association and a connection with that brand. And strategically, that's what you want to do. You want to develop a brand so that people can gravitate to you rather than you go hunting for them. Now let's look at how we are going to do this. Brand marketing is everything a business does to build a relationship between the business and its customers. Marketing begins with cultivating honest relationships that promote your service, develops credibility, and builds trust in you and your service, which will ultimately generate leads and increase your profit margin. Let's have a look at 3 areas in terms of marketing and branding and sales. I'm not going to go into great detail as to the responsibilities of each of these roles. You can pause this video and go through it yourself. But what I wanted to say is that these 3 areas or 3 roles are very closely linked because these areas need to communicate the same message and represent the same image. Your advertising, your storyline, your images, the language, the tone and words that you use must all work together in your marketing campaign to generate interest and to generate leads. The words and tone that you use has an impact, and I can see this happening quite a lot online when I see people posting a question or they share a thought and opinion, and I go and read the comments and I can see how people have interpreted or misinterpreted the information. Look, you're not going to get it 100% right. There's just too many complex things to think about. But at least you can start from a point where you are very clear about who you are and who your customers are so that you do not send out the wrong message. I mean, if your clients are into motorbiking, but all you're communicating is rugby, they are not going to get the message from you. If you have a look at Red Bull, their brand is all about adventure sports and being active. Now, if their sales department has someone who is perhaps elderly or someone who's perhaps sick or even someone who just doesn't care about life, in other words, they answer the phone going, "Hello, how are you? How can I help you today?" It wouldn't be a true reflection of Red Bull's brand. In other words, it would cause confusion. I hope you can see now why it's so important to take ownership of the brand that you're going to represent in yourself as well as your business. Realistically, everyone is a brand. It's up to you whether you want to control it or to let others control it for you. In the online world, it is much easier to tell a lot about a person than it is in the offline world. People tend to reveal a lot more about themselves online than they do offline. You can easily tell online who are the sports fanatics, the religious people, people who are very traditional and set in their ways. You can also tell who is into politics, who are racist, who are fanatical shoppers. You can tell who the animal lovers are. You can tell who the activists are, who are liberals, who are democratic, who are left-wing, right-wing. There's so much you can tell about people. You can tell if people are positive or whether they are negative overall as a person. You can also tell by what people say and post online how they are going to treat you and treat others. You can pretty much decide whether you want to associate with someone or not by what they are posting and sharing online. The question is, how much are you revealing online that you are happy about? And how much are you sharing online that could be damaging to your brand identity? What you and others post about you online is a reflection of you. It tells a story. What story are you telling? Let's have a look at these three icons. These are quite powerful icons in the world. Let's have a look at Madonna, who is one of the most powerful music icons in the world. Madonna has always controlled her own business and also controlled her own brand. What I love about Madonna's brand is it stands for transformation. She's always been about transformation and change. As the world changed, as people change, as trends change, as people's needs change, so did Madonna evolve and change accordingly. But she was also about standing up for yourself and owning your space. Madonna believed that a lot of people are afraid to say what they want, and that's why they don't get what they want. And if you look at Madonna from start to finish, she's always been about, this is who I am, I don't care what you think, I take my stand and I go out there and get what I want. And that's exactly what she's achieved. And when you look at your own business and you look at your customers, are you evolving and changing enough that you are moving with them? Let's look at Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga intentionally decided to shock the world, and shock the world she did, but look at her today. A lot of Lady Gaga's brand identity relates to what she wears, the clothing that she wears. It almost represents a side of her personality. Now, she lives her brand 24/7. Unlike other artists, she doesn't just use her clothing on stage. What she represents on stage and off stage is the same. She stays in character and believes in living her entire life outside the box. Lady Gaga has millions of followers that if she had to send out an offer at a click of a button, she would have millions in return on investment. Granted, music is easier to sell, but think about you. How can you position yourself as a person of influence, as a person who is the go-to person, a respected person for their knowledge and for their experience, and as a person who's providing a product or service? What can you do that is special, that is different to your competitors? These are the things that we will be exploring throughout your training in this program. Richard Branson is a successful entrepreneur, but not only that, he developed the Virgin brand, but he also developed his own brand. And what Richard Branson's brand represents to the world is that he's open-minded, free-thinking, adventurous, and doesn't follow status quo, always pushing the boundaries where he can. Now, Richard Branson is a successful entrepreneur, and when I was doing some research, I discovered that he was charging $250,000 just to come and speak at an event. That's pretty impressive. We have people in our daily lives who represent themselves in brands in how they dress, their style. You have people who are Harley Davidson fans who like to dress in everything Harley Davidson and like to be associated with Harley Davidson. You have people who have got specific dress style. If you look at Steve Jobs, for example, you always see him in black, or you'll see him in t-shirt type style shirt that he dresses in all the time. I mean, you've got goth people who represent a very specific style and image, and it's very carefully coordinated and put together. And then you have other people who like to be bright and shiny and colorful. You know, you'll always see them with a flower in their head or have some bright outfit. They'll wear bright pink pants as this lady does and big glasses. So there's many ways that you can develop a style and develop your own brand in terms of how you want to be seen in the public eye. So it's about style, it's about image, the way you speak, the way you walk, the way you talk. All these kind of things represent your brand image. Are you fun? Are you adventurous? Are you stylish? Are you tech savvy? Are you trendy? Forward thinking? Selling services is very different to selling products. If you are a business owner, coach, consultant, entrepreneur, your primary goal is to convince strangers on the internet that you are the right person to hire for their business. In essence, you are the product. How are you going to package yourself so that you prove that you are credible and trustworthy? Are you a good fit in terms of your values and personality? Do you have the skills and knowledge to do what is expected of you? Do you want to work smarter or harder? Do you want to make life easy for yourself or difficult? Develop brand equity so that you do not need to keep chasing for new business. When you have a strong, recognized brand, it is easier for you to generate business. Develop brand equity so that when a client is faced with choices, that they choose you because they've heard of you and recognize your brand. When you go to the shop and you look at various products, you have your no-name products, then you've got brands that you haven't heard of, and you've got brands that you do recognize and you have heard of them. You will always naturally gravitate to the brand that you've heard of and that you recognize and that you know and trust. If your budget is tight, you'll often choose a no-name brand. If you're not someone who is a brand fanatic, then you'll either choose the no-name or you might go for any particular brand that is sitting on the shelf. As a customer choice, which customer do you ultimately want to target? How are you going to maximize and leverage technology to your advantage? How are you going to make it easy and convenient for your customers to connect with you? Newsletters, email, phone, social media, offline media, the events that you attend, lots of different tools that are out there where you can create the customer experience that will ultimately represent your brand identity. Now we're going to have a look at how we're going to put together your own brand identity and brand image.